There we go. Now I'll go back after they called me in to play some World of Warcraft. Now I can go back to my YouTube and I calmed down, so maybe we can watch some better YouTube. Because sometimes YouTube is upsetting. You don't praise somebody for doing something bad just because they're getting away with it. Tell them to get away with it for as long as they can. Because it doesn't affect you. When you know it affects others. But it doesn't matter because everybody, you're monetized with everybody and partnered with everybody. So when you're monetized with every single platform out there, you don't care what other people do on the platforms because it doesn't affect your platform. Ugh. First I gotta get comfortable. I am so not comfortable. Oi. Microphone, you're in my face. Just kidding. Oh yeah, they always put it. See, this is what I was talking about, clickbait. What'd he say? Son, I don't like what you said, but you're gonna keep it up anyways. No problem. Anyways, love you, bye. Just kidding. That's rude. Huh? Entire Breakfast Club crew. Is that not pertaining to the movie, I'm guessing? What? So not only DCU is gone, huh? The whole DCEU is just gone.
I hate bringing you bad news in the middle of the night, but here we are.
We need it.
Before we get started, though, Hollywood, my friends, does not deserve the benefit of the doubt. James Gunn doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt, and most certainly Warner Brothers doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt because I believe, once again, they've gotten off on the wrong foot with DC because Henry Cavill is out as Superman. Henry Cavill on not returning as Superman. This news isn't the easiest. The actor reacted to James Gunn's plan to write a film focusing on the DC superheroes' younger years. Now, James Gunn has already denied on Twitter this is going to be an origin story.
They already did enough young.
He's also denied that it's going to be incorporated with the Batman. Also good. I still believe this will probably end up being something closer to the Superman than a Superman movie we all wanted with an established hero and established rogues gallery of villains. Instead, we're going to get Superboy, some wafy 120-pound actor because Masculinity is bad in Hollywood. Henry Cavill is addressing Warner Brothers' decision to move forward with a Superman film that will star a different actor in the title role. And good luck to whoever replaces Henry Cavill, because you will constantly be compared to him. And this better be the best Superman movie ever made, because without it, you don't have a DCU. Cavill, who appeared as Superman in a cameo for this fall's Black Adam after not having played the hero since 2017's Justice League, weighed in following DC Studios co-chairs and co-CEOs James Gunn and Peter Safran, informing him of the change in direction for the character. Cavill explained that his post from earlier in this year declaring that he would return as Superman was made prior to Warner Brothers hiring Gunn and Safran. And let's just go to Henry Cavill's pretty sad post here. I feel bad for the guy. I just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman after being told by the studio to announce my return back in October. That is fucked up. Prior to their hire, their news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. I wish them the best of luck too. Will superhero movies still be a thing in 10 years? Will there be a DCU without a good Superman movie? No, there won't. For those of you who have been by my side through the years, we can mourn for a bit, but then we must remember Superman is still around. Everything he stands for still exists, and the examples he sets for us are still here. My turn to wear the cape has passed, but what Superman stands for never will. It's been a fun ride with you all, onwards and upwards.
So
all
he's
class
no
from Henry
longer-
Cavill and absolutely zero.
So he's no longer Superman, he's no longer the Witcher. He's just getting screwed by writers and stuff everywhere, isn't he? Poor Henry Cavill, he's having a rough go of it.
Hero from Warner Brothers. This is the absolute worst way to deal with it, and maybe you just needed to rip the Band-Aid off. I understand that, James Gunn, but what Henry Cavill gave you was something you don't have: goodwill. You might have goodwill from some as a director, but those are Marvel fans. We're talking about DC fans, and not sure if James Gunn is a good fit for traditional heroes. I liked what he did with the Suicide Squad. I liked what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy. But could James Gunn direct something traditional even with Marvel like Captain America? I don't think so, because he's a quirky trauma guy, and he's worked well with the quirky Marvel characters and DC characters. The Suicide Squad, as much as I liked it, didn't do very well, partially because it went on HBO Max, but I don't think it would have done well anyway. And we still have some DC movies to get through that are gonna flop now because they just don't matter. They're gonna be one-offs. They might as well just put them on HBO Max or whatever the hell you're gonna call it now. And I have been a fan of Zaslav's acts, but I would remind everyone that CNN is still running, DC Comics is still running, and those are two of the most woke and broke organizations out there. To be fair, James Gunn inherited a mess, and I think he just made it a bit worse. I understand completely rebooting, but that's not what you're doing. What are you going to do with Peacemaker? How is that going to fit into the greater DCU? How is the Batman going to exist outside of it with another Batman? Will that create confusion? Will that create competition? How will that move forward? I wish you all the luck in the world, and hey, I hope it turns out great. The problem is, this is all happening probably 10 years too late, and you have a 10-year plan. And as I stated on Twitter tonight, I would worry far less about a 10-year plan and far more about a good Superman movie, an inspirational, traditionally heroic Superman movie, something we haven't gotten, quite frankly, since Richard Donner 44 years ago, and it's something you can't even emulate. This is something Warner Brothers has said they would have a problem with, and this is something Hollywood has had a problem with because they have no idea what traditional heroism is anymore. I agree with Henry. The ideal of Superman is still around, but again, I don't think Hollywood is capable of making it. Cavill's post came just as Gunn tweeted that he will be writing a new Superman film set to focus on the seminal DC superheroes' younger years. Great. Cavill could be in the mix to play a different DC character down the road. That is just some Hollywood gobbledygook
he can't play
bullshit to make
anything
everybody
else.
happy. That's never going to happen. Peter and
can't-
I have a DC slate ready to go, which we couldn't be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the year, Gunn wrote. The filmmaker added that he and Safran had a great meeting with Henry and were big fans, and we talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future just to placate him. That's, again, just his Hollywood bullshit. I wouldn't expect Henry to come back, and I wouldn't if I were him. He has been screwed over by Warner Brothers enough. This development follows director Patty Jenkins sharing her thoughts Tuesday in light of Hollywood Reporter's report that the studio would not be moving forward with her plan for Wonder Woman 3 after she submitted a treatment. Jenkins wrote on Instagram that she did not walk away from the project, but explained, "It was my understanding that there was nothing I could do to move anything forward at this time," and I'm guessing that's the same answer they gave Henry. There's part of me that believes that James Gunn knew this was going to cause an outcry on the internet, and he revels in that a bit, and quite frankly, I think that makes him the wrong guy to make a Superman movie. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Please prove me wrong.
No,
But
he's
when
not
we
going
eventually
to.
do get this film
You're
in
right. You're
2025
always
or
right.
2026, we'll see if superhero movies are still a thing, and that
There's-
would mean
there's
his
nothing I
10-year
can
plan
critique
ends
bad.
in 2035.
There's nothing I can critique bad about what he's saying. He's always right. His predictions are always right. He's always just straightforward and honest. A little bit harsh at times, but he's right.
Or 2036. There's a lot of time between now and then, and how many Superman movies have been announced and shit-canned just in the last 3 years? Thank God Jar Jar Abrams isn't making one, so time will tell, but DC fans' patience is running out. It's not this...
I bet this is the last thing Nerdrotic wanted. I mean, you got Marvel just in a mess, and now he's got to talk about the DC EU being in a big mess, and how everything comic-wise is just in a big mess. We finally made comic movies so popular, so popular. I mean, back in the day when the first Batman, not the first Batman, but I mean, Batman with Michael Keaton and stuff was coming out, it still wasn't catching on, superhero movies. They were still trying to figure out a way to get superhero movies to catch on. And then Marvel came along. And then Smallville was gone, thank God. No, I'm just kidding, I haven't watched it, but I mean, they started turning things around with people like Henry Cavill and Christian Bale and all them guys. They started finally turning things around. They even made Ben Affleck and James Patterson a pretty good Batman. That nobody even complained that there was too many multiple Batman movies out there, because they were the DC movies and this is the DCEU, and everybody just enjoyed it all. And now
infinite well of optimism. Having been a retailer for 10 years in the comic book industry, I am intimately aware that DC fans, again, are very different from Marvel fans. And as a lifelong Marvel fan, I would argue they are far more passionate. So I would take the time to understand that, because they have reached their limit. This is your last chance. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for...
No, we're gonna like... I think I'm already subscribed, ain't I? Oh, this is Nerdrotic Daily. Thank you, Nerdrotic, for all you do. I don't know how my dad's stuff is leaking into my YouTube. I swear, there's a bug in our literal Wi-Fi signal. I don't even know, like, this sounds twist on what? Okay, fine, let's just go see.
Scarlett Johansson goes scorched earth on Hollywood in this brutal interview where she completely exposes a lot of the criticisms that we have had about Hollywood for years now at this point. And this is getting absolutely crazy and really just confirms a lot of the things that we have hated about Hollywood for quite some time with all of their corruption and everything else. But we also have to talk about the elephant in the room here, because this is what she said, okay? She claimed that she was being groomed into becoming bombshell star. But like I said, we got to talk about the elephant in the room here, because this is something that we consistently see happening with a bunch of actresses who are getting up there in age, who are getting older, who are maybe not getting the same type of popular roles that they were when they were younger, where suddenly they have tons and tons of problems with a lot of the things in the Hollywood system when they are much older, when they were in that phase of super popularity, they didn't seem to have any of those types of criticisms. And Scarlett Johansson is yet another one of these actresses who at one point was getting all of these crazy big roles and all these different projects, and she wasn't criticizing any of it at the time. Now suddenly, when she has moved beyond and she's starting to get into the twilight of her acting years, she is suddenly having all of these criticisms and all of these issues. But that doesn't take away from the fact that there is also a lot of terrible things that are obviously happening in Hollywood as well. That is not to excuse those. Two things can be true at the same time. It can be true that Scarlett Johansson was totally, enabling a lot of that stuff. But at the same time, Hollywood is also to blame for all of their corruption and all of the disgusting things that they continue to put actresses through. Scarlett Johansson said Tuesday on the Table of Two with Bruce Bozzi podcast that she felt groomed into becoming a bombshell actress during the first part of her career. I did Lost in Translation and Girl with a Pearl Earring, and by that point I was 18, 19, and I was coming into my own womanhood and learning my own desirability and sexuality. I was kind of being coaxed in a way to be this what you call a bombshell type actor. Johansson said that she found herself typecasted as playing the male's object of desire and the other woman. She added that she couldn't escape it and that she found herself cornered. And at the time, she didn't really say anything about it. The Oscar, at least not publicly, the Oscar nominee continued, it would be easy probably to sit across from someone in that situation and go, this is working, but for that kind of bombshell, that burns bright and quick and then it's done and you don't have opportunity beyond that, it just was an interesting...
See, it's really hard because men age well and women have to do a lot too. And you only have that small time in your life where you're between around 15, 16 to 30, where you're at your most popular, and then your 30s you start going downhill unless you look like you're still in your 20s. And then if you hit 40 and you don't still look like you're in your 30s, well, your career's almost over. And it's also hard being a streamer, and people are gonna watch this sexier, painted up, bombshell people that are doing the same thing as you, or sometimes even less. Like, I've watched some of these streamers, and I sit there and go, they barely talk, and they don't really do much. And there's nothing tremendously exciting about their platform. I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm just saying that women do have it harder, because we have to, makeup, hair, everything has to be perfect, or we're not going to get watched the place where we stream from has to be perfect, or we're not gonna get watched. I mean, everything has to be perfect. Where I've watched guy videos and they're just like filming wherever, and they wear whatever and do and say whatever, and the women have always had to, you know, like, I mean, look at Britney Spears. Everybody talks about, look at her debut video versus the next video she makes. She went and got a boob job, so that it's like, okay, Britney Spears, you made it, now go get a boob job, because you made it looking like a cute little schoolgirl, but that's only gonna cut it once.
Weird conundrum to be in, but it really came back to work at it and trying to carve a place in different projects and work in great.
And no man has ever been told to change their body. Now it's like, oh, you've made it, you're now famous, you had your debut movie. Now if a man bald, he could shave his head or do other things and he's fine. And well, you know, they have it a little easier because, I mean, people look at, like, what's his name, Ant-Man, and they're just like, oh, he's amazing. He never ages. And he's never changed his look. It's always looked the same. He's never done anything to his body to get a different role.
Ensembles. I kind of became objectified and pigeonholed in this way, where I felt like I wasn't getting offers for work for things that I wanted to do. I think everybody thought I was older. I got kind of pigeonholed into this weird hypersexualized thing. I felt like my career was older, and this is stuff that she has talked about in the past as well. When she has talked about Hollywood and some of the things that has happened to her. And a lot of that is probably true. And I do think that she probably was definitely hypersexualized in a lot of ways. But what did she do about it at the time? Not a whole lot. She continued to take those roles. She continued to accept the roles that were given to her. And she made a lot of money for it. And she did very well for herself. And now suddenly she's having all of these different issues with it. And look, it's all bad, okay? Let's just be honest about it. It's all bad at the end of the day, what is happening here, but it really just goes to expose a lot of the hypocrisy with actresses like Scarlett Johansson, and it also continues to show us just how corrupt and disgusting of a place Hollywood really is. So without...
What?
There have been a lot of very crazy lies that have been spread about Tom Cruise recently, ever since this interview that Emily Blunt did, where she talked about this crazy story between her and Tom Cruise and the rather, well, blunt advice that he gave her when they were shooting Edge of Tomorrow. We're going to get into all of this here because what she says here completely obliterates woke media and all of the ways that they're trying to spin this story that she told into some sort of feminist woke type of story. And she's like, no, that is not the case at all. That is not what I was trying to do. You guys are ridiculous. So we're going to get into all of this because it doesn't surprise me that they would do this to Tom Cruise. Of course, they're going to try to paint him in a bad picture because this seems to happen all the time, where when there is an actor or a celebrity that the people actually like Tom Cruise, then suddenly the media feels the need, the urge to vilify them and to paint them into some sort of bad guy. And I wouldn't be surprised if they are going to try to do that with Tom Cruise, especially considering the fact that he actually appreciates fans and audiences and the people, and he is not someone that just goes around and flaunts all of his crazy, ideologies and politics and all that type of stuff. He's just here to make movies and make good movies, and the media can't stand that. So it's ludicrous. Hollywood star wants to clarify the rather blunt advice she got from Tom Cruise. Hollywood star Emily Blunt has clarified the rather non-PC advice she got from Tom Cruise and accused some outlets of spinning it into something that offended her. The 39-year-old actress said her story about Cruise telling her to stop being such a pussy on the set of their 2014 hit sci-fi thriller Edge of Tomorrow was taken literally and absurdly out of context. Because, of course, this is what the media does. They take stories like this, and they think that Emily Blunt is being some sort of woke feminist when she tells the story, and she's trying to, you know, paint Tom Cruise in a bad light and all that type of stuff. They're going to take all of that, and they're going to run with it, and they're going to try to create as much drama out of that as possible. But Emily Blunt is like, no, that's not what happened.
What makes you a feminist is when... if you go somewhere and something happens to you and you retell it, that doesn't make you feminist. If you go somewhere and you're looking for it to happen, and sometimes you even create it, and then you tell the story to get attention. And, I mean, sometimes things just happen.
Even I knew that. When I read through the story, I was like, it's very obvious that she is not saying this story as a negative thing towards Tom Cruise. She's just telling a great story about Tom Cruise and how tough of an actor he is, how he is someone who's so dedicated to doing the best work that he can while on screen, and he tells her that she needs to shape up and get to work.
See,
and
exactly
that was a
what I was talking about. She told a story that was funny to her. Somebody was like, oh, look, it's feminism, we better share it in a bad light. And that's the difference between just telling a story and somebody spun it into something bad because they were on alert looking for feminist things to spin, and little did Blunt know she was giving them exactly what they wanted.
Very awesome story. I did a whole video on it yesterday if you want to go check it out, where I covered the whole story and the interview and everything else.
Before we leave.
And it was awesome. It's awesome.
Everybody who watch,
yeah,
want to give them a like for their information. Unless it's truly bad information. Why is there even an Indiana Jones 5? 4 was the dumbest thing you could have ever done. Oops, I am getting tired. Wormhole, huh? Really? Or is time travel not too far away? Looks like the big news is Superman right now. He's destroying what on purpose? Okay,
it's
let's see
not something
this.
we can just say, oh, f*** it,
Oh,
we
it's
gotta
one
walk
of those
away.
big
We
ones.
can't. That's what brought us here.
Oh.
Black pilling brought us here. Not doing anything about it brought us here. Not saying anything about it brought us here. And if we continue to do it, then we'll lose. We'll lose. We'll lose our culture and then eventually our country.
Nerdrotic.com.
To all the people who say there is no agenda, don't be so conspiratorial. Well, here's a little smoking gun for you from the Writers Guild of America. Queer Eye for comic books, LGBTQ plus voices on IP adaptions for film and TV from September 14th, 2022. About this event, this panel will bring together LGBTQ plus writers and film / television executives to discuss the process of adapting comic book IP for film and television, with the focus on breathing life into queer characters, either those already queer, all right, that's fine, on the page, or reinterpreting legacy characters in a new queer light.
Wow. Notice the
Getting
framing
it
there.
up.
It's assumed that not only is this a good thing, but it will be done and is happening. Like,
Ugh.
Yeah.
everything is done from the position that this is just right, we're doing it, and anyone that argues against this will be wrong. So, it's essentially a struggle session. Anyone who disagrees
Wow.
will never, ever dare speak out about it.
Yeah, it's modernizing.
Yeah.
They don't think of it as identity politics.
No, and this should surprise no one. I mean, it's everything we've been telling you is going on, because you don't get as many things in films over the course of years that we've gotten without there being a clear agenda in mind. And but this is going on, and it's been going on for a long time, and this is why we continue to hold them accountable, because we're at a point now where you have to prove to us that it's not what we've been seeing.
Yep.
We don't have to be excited for anything. We don't have to support anything. This whole wait till you see it. No, fuck that. Wait till I don't see it. That's the whole thing. Wait till I don't see the thing that you have done to ruin every single piece of entertainment that we've gotten up to this point.
It's your job
So-
to sell us. We're the
Yep.
audience.
Marketing
Yep.
101.
You gotta
Make
sell
people
the
wanna go
audience.
see it. What's interesting is it mentions about how, basically reappropriating characters,
That's your
re-envisioning
job
characters.
as an
And I think it
entertainer.
ultimately comes down to, I think they get more money from people who click on like videos and articles talking about how they're going to do that versus when they actually do it. Like, look at the box office for Bros. I'm pretty sure more money was made on people just freaking out about announcing like characters of much bigger IPs versus the actual film itself.
You have to think about the impact that it has for a character, because you can't go, well, it's not a small change, because you're having an entire event simply for this reason. So you think it's important, you think it's a massive change, you value this kind of, and if you value it, then it must have some kind of impact. So in that case, you want to reinterpret legacy characters in a new light, which means you're now changing that person in a significant way that you value. So it's no longer the original person. Because if it was a minor change that didn't really make any difference, then you wouldn't need to have an entire event about it. The fact that you are putting so much weight in this means that you will change this character to the point where it's no longer the original thing. And that's why people care about it. They want what they loved all along. Make something
Exactly.
new, make
That's
it.
what they've all been saying. Is when you say you're gonna make a book or a comic book or some kind of media into a live action thing, people are like, oh man, not only did I read it, but now I'm gonna see everything I read up on that big screen. And then they're like, well, for creative purposes, we decided to go this route with the movie. I don't know. $30 days? 30
AI will
days.
destroy humanity. We had nuclear bombs, which could potentially destroy civilization, obviously. We have AI, which could destroy civilization. We have global warming, which could destroy civilization, or at least severely disrupt civilization. Digital intelligence will exceed biological intelligence by a substantial margin. It's obvious. We're not paying attention. We worry more about what name somebody called someone else than whether AI will destroy humanity. That's insane. We're like children in a playground. Humanity really is not evolved to think of existential threats in general. We've evolved to think about things that are very close to us, near term, to be upset with other humans, and not to really to think about things that could destroy humanity as a whole.
Excuse me, how could AI destroy civilization?
You know, it would be something the same way that humans destroyed the habitat of primates. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be destroyed, but we might be relegated to a small corner of the world. When Homo sapiens became much smarter than other primates, it pushed all the other ones into small habitats. They're just in the way.
Couldn't AI, even in this moment, just with the technology that we have before us, be used in some fairly destructive ways?
You could make a swarm of assassin drones for very little money by just taking the Face ID chip that's used in cell phones and having a small explosive charge and a standard drone, and have them just do a grid sweep of the building until they find the person they're looking for, ram into them and explode. You can do that right now. No new technology is needed. Right now. Probably a bigger risk than being hunted down by a drone is that AI would be used to make incredibly effective propaganda. That would not seem like propaganda.
So these are deep fakes.
Yeah, influence the direction of society, influence elections. Artificial intelligence just hones the message, looks at the feedback, makes this message slightly better. Within milliseconds, it can adapt its message and shift and react to news. And there's so many social media accounts out there that are not people. Like, how do you know it's a person, not a person?
One reason that regulators and others are a little bit in denial about this is the speed, the pace of change. What is the consequence of that speed of change?
The way in which a regulation is put in place is slow and linear,
Right.
and we are facing an exponential threat. And if you have a linear response to an exponential threat, it's quite likely the exponential threat will win.
One of the issues with social media, it's been pointed out by many people, is that I think maybe particularly Instagram, people look like they have a much better life than they really do.
Right.
So
By design.
yeah, people are posting pictures of when they're really happy. They're modifying those pictures to be better looking. Even if they're not modifying the pictures, they're at least selecting the pictures for the best lighting, the best angle. So people basically seem they're way better looking than they basically really are.
Right.
And they're way happier seeming than they really are. So if you look at everyone on Instagram, you might think, man, they're all these happy, beautiful people, and I'm not that good looking and I'm not happy. So I must suck, you know, and that's gonna make people sad. So when in fact, those people you think are super happy, actually not that happy. Some of them are really depressed. They're very sad. Some of the happiest seeming people, actually some of the saddest people in reality. And nobody looks good all the time. Doesn't matter who you are.
No. It's not even something you should want. Why do you
Yeah.
want to look great all the time?
Yeah, exactly. So I think things like that can make people quite sad.
Well, you
just
basically-
by comparison, because you just sort of people generally think of themselves relative to others. We are constantly rebaselining our expectations.
This battle that's going on between Tim Cook and Facebook, I fucking love it. I love that he's stepping up and saying, hey, you can just advertise. You don't have to gather up people's data and sell it constantly.
No.
And then disingenuously, Facebook tries to say, you are killing small businesses with these decisions. Get the fuck out of here. You're not killing small business. We're killing this one.
Basically, we'll watch more controversial stuff when I'm less tired. Because I do want to talk about stuff. I'm just